I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Thursday, June 16th meeting of the Victoria Planning Commission. And I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but I'd like to welcome two new members to the Planning Commission, Mr. Atkinson, Mr. Johnson. Welcome aboard, and look forward to working with you. Our first order, if anybody has any cell phones on, please turn them off or silence them now. Okay, our first order of business is approval of meeting minutes. I don't know if anybody has any changes, comments, etc. If not, do I have a motion?
Move we accept.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Caldwell and a second by Ms. Wyatt to approve the meeting minutes from our May 19th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nobody's opposed. Okay, the meeting minutes are approved. Our next order of business is citizen communication. So anybody who wishes to address the Planning Commission on an issue not on the agenda, please do so now. Anybody? Okay, all right. No citizens communication. So Mr. Charles, I guess we're ready to go here.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. The first item on our agenda is a variance to Section 21-83A2. This requires a commercial lot to have a minimum lot width of 150 feet when located on a corner lot of an arterial street. Additionally, they're approved for a final plat approval of Hall Addition Re-Subdivision Number 7, Re-Subdivision Number 1. Hall Addition Re-Subdivision Number 7, Re-Sub Number 1 is a proposed final plat of 0.671 acres. The subject property is located at 1505 and 1507 North Main Street at the intersection of North Main and West Colorado Street. Currently, the property has a single-family residence as well as a commercial building on the property. The owner is wishing to subdivide the property to separate the two uses into individual lots. Section 2183 requires that it has the 150 feet of frontage on a corner arterial street. Lot 1RA, where the commercial property currently is, only has 69.75 feet, but meets all of the other minimum commercial lot standards. This property was originally part of 3 separate lots prior to 2013. The owner now desires to separate the residential home from the commercial property. The residential home dates back to the 1920s, while the commercial building was constructed in the late 1940s. The applicant states that they are unable to obtain a home improvement loan with the existing lot configuration. As our more senior planning commissioners know, it's required to meet the following 5 criteria for our new planning commissioners. 5 criteria are the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or be injurious to the surrounding property. The granting of the variance is not based on a hardship which is self-imposed. The hardship is not based solely on the cost of complying with the regulation. The granting of the variance will not have the effect of preventing the orderly development of other land in the area in accordance with the provisions of this chapter. And there are special or unique circumstances or conditions affecting the land involved such that the strict application of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the property. Our staff recommends approval of the variance request, as the lot already contains an existing single-family residence and a commercial property, and by platting, it will separate the uses into 2 lots. If the Planning Commission recommends approval of the variance request described above, our staff recommends approval of the final plat. And I can answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
I was unclear on that one thing I asked you earlier.
About the easement?
Yes.
Okay. So on the final plat, there is an easement, and this easement is just for the driveway for the residence is currently on the lot that was the commercial lot. So the easement would allow them to use that driveway still for the residence.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Vic.
Nope, I answered it before I asked it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Charles? Anything? Anybody?
I recommend approval of the variance.
I'll second.
Wait,
Oh, public hearing.
we have three things. We have a public hearing for the variance, approve the variance, and then approve the final plat. Okay. So, we now have to have a public hearing for the variance request. Okay, we have somebody wishes to address the commission. If you don't mind, please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is A.J. Hanslick. I'm an inactive surveyor with Civil Corp at 4611 East Airline. I've been here in Victoria since January 1966. I'm going to go through this the best that I can. Bear with me, please. I'm just a bohemian from Lavaca County. But Billy Settles and I had a company, Associated Engineers and Surveyors. We started in 1982. In 2011, we sold to Civil Corp. Shortly before the sale, Mrs. Byrne contacted Billy Settles, well, her contractor did, B&B Metal Buildings. She was going to need to do some improvements on that commercial building. And before I forget, which I do very good, that easement, the reason that it's there is because that's the only driveway off of Main Street into those two lots. So that easement was placed on that commercial lot so that the Burns could drive in and then get into their property. But I wanted to put that in. So anyhow, in doing that, what I understand, and one other thing, Billy Settles is no longer with us. He has passed away. So I'm going on mostly of what I hear. So anyhow, contacting Billy by Mike Bluta, the property had to be platted to get a permit to make the improvements inside the commercial building at that time. Mrs. Burns stated that she had asked at that time that the property be split into two lots, the residential and the commercial, like it's on today's plat. For some reason, and I don't know why, I cannot come up with a good answer, the property got platted commercially. I was under the impression that if you had a home on a property, it had to be on a residential lot, a commercial building had to be on a commercial piece of property. I checked with Julie, and she enlightened me. She said there are special provisions. Am I correct, Julie? Good, good. So, but for some reason, it got platted all commercially. When Mrs. Byrne contacted her bank for the home improvement loan, they refused her because it was platted commercially. It was all in one. So Civil Corp has taken the responsibility of replatting this into the two lots so that if everything passes, she will be able to get a home improvement loan to do some improvements on her house and go on from there. That building, as far as I know, when I came to Victoria, I think Dr. Pepper was in that building. And then Hope Chest, or what's the other one? They were in there. Then there was a automotive repair business in there. And now the Burns have put it into a climate-controlled storage building.
Mr. Hanslick, I don't think anybody's going to reject a variance request.
Well, I just wanted to, so
Of
that
course.
everybody knows what's going on.
Yes, sir. I read your letter and
Okay.
I was fully aware.
Okay.
Please go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
I
that's
just,
right.
or supersede you in any way.
I'm at the end of my spiel, and I'll
Okay.
answer any
Yes.
questions that
Yes.
y'all have.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's interesting.
Yes, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hanslick? No, sir.
I'm going to go back to my seat. Thank y'all.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
I do have a question about the easement.
No, go ahead, Vic.
does the easement go right up to the back of the commercial building, or is there, on the plat here, it looks like
It's kind of hard to see on there. It
Yeah.
goes the whole length of the residential plat, so it would go
Right.
to the edge of that, the smaller portion of the L shape of it. So
Where that little triangle is.
okay. So would there, in the future, I mean, if we split this off into two lots, which is what we're talking about doing, in the future, if the commercial building gets sold separate, is there gonna be room there that if the commercial building wants to put a fence up, because isn't that gonna is that gonna be an issue with commercial next to a residential, even with the easement?
Well, the easement
Subject to the
protects
easement.
the
Yeah, the
residential
easement would
property owner. The
remain.
easement would keep the commercial property owner from ever blocking access.
Right.
That's what that easement does.
It'd be waived.
And it's waived. Right now, they're both under current ownership, so the owner could waive it for themselves if it was ever triggered.
But it
And
won't create a problem for future owners?
no, sir, because once it's waived, that's,
I just wanted to make sure there was gonna be enough room that, I had a building one time where the easement ran right down the middle of a shared driveway. And eventually the guy next door decided he was gonna put a fence right on the very edge of the easement, which only made the driveway 2/3 of the width that it was. And I just wanna make sure that doesn't happen potentially anytime in the future in this situation.
It covers the entire width of the driveway on the commercial side.
That answers my question.
Anybody else, any questions? No? Okay, then, what we need then is we've had our public hearing for a variance request. Anybody else? Okay, no further comments. So we need a motion to approve the variance request. Okay, Ms. Wyatt made a motion to approve the variance request. Do I have a second?
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Rashid, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No, so the variance request is approved. Now, our next order of business is to approve the final plat. Do I have a motion to approve the final plat?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Woods made a motion to approve the final plat. Ms. Wyatt seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, the final plat's approved. And thank you, Mr. Hansley.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all right. Next item on the agenda is the monthly development report. This month, we had 6 new single-family residential. This is down from 11 this time last year. We had $4,623,549, and which is up from $2,807,434. In permit fees, we collected $44,538, which is up from $31,745 this time last year.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Charles on the development report? Nothing? Okay. All right, then,
And lastly, we had 7 minor plats come in, 1 major plat, which is the one we reviewed tonight, as well as 3 site plans for Aspen Dental, Tropical Point Plaza, and Faith Academy that has a new gymnasium. And that's it.
and one other item, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, you should have in front of you a copy of the final, a pretty copy of the final comprehensive plan, 2035. So we'll be back in the coming weeks and months with, as we start to get into implementation, but wanted to make sure you recognize that you needed to take that with you. That's your copy.
thank you, Jared. All right, then. Our next order of business is items from planning commissioners. And I'm going to bring up one item, but if anybody else has anything prior to that. Nothing? Okay. The item I was going to bring up was the letter or the recommendation from Ms. Fulgham. And what I understand we need to, this was the result of a request by Mr. Woods to look at the extension of plats. And we had an action item, a couple months ago with Capstone Estates? And Mr. Woods had asked that staff look into extension, and Ms. Fulgham prepared a memorandum of which everybody got a copy of. And so what we would need to do, I understand, is just today, we would not discuss it, but if we want to discuss further, we need to put it on the agenda. What we need to do today is just determine whether or not we have a consensus to put it on the agenda as a future action item, something that we could review further, discuss further, determine if we want to take any additional action. So I want to throw that out there on the table.
I think I'd like to see it put on the agenda so that we can discuss it in open forum and decide either way, whichever way we want to go, but at least we'll have an opportunity to discuss it.
Okay. I just wanted, the staff's recommendation was to leave as is, but you want to see it on the agenda.
I think, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Woods, but the request was made to have something brought to us for us to look at and review. Planning went to the effort of putting something before us that we could take a look at. And I think for all parties involved, I think, and for me personally, I think we at least owe everybody an opportunity to discuss it.
As the city continues to grow and annexation continues, we're gonna run into this, I think, more and more often. We've got, we just in the last 12, 18 months, we keep running into the issues of people wanting an extension. Now, there was one gentleman was the majority of them, but something to address, and at least give us a chance to discuss. We have new commissioners on the board up here to give them a chance to have a look at it as well.
Anybody else have any comments? Omar?
I think it's fine. I think Vic is right. I think we need to put it on the agenda and get it discussed.
Greg?
Fine.
Okay. Our two new commissioners are sure, I know you're not that familiar with what's going on. You okay with that approach?
Fine with me.
James? All right. Okay, then we'll put that on a future agenda.
One that's not so full as this one.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, then. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Okay, Mr. Woods made a motion for adjournment. Oh, wait. Anything from James? Mr. Johnson, you want to say anything? No? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Mr. Atkinson? Okay, well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have y'all. All right. So, all right, we had a motion by Mr. Woods, a second by Ms. Wyatt for adjournment. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned.